Well, it was a pretty good week this week. Thought I'd start out with this picture, a public service announcement about how to wear your mask. Saw that in the bathroom this week and made me laugh. So I went up 1 kilo on the touch and go bench press on day one. So this is 141 for 4 sets of 5 feet up touch and go. That was set one. This is set four. All went pretty solid, feeling good. No complaints here. And then I went up 5 pounds on the SSB squats. So 4 sets of 5 at 390. And I think depth is, pretty good, and everything's still moving plenty fast. Probably legitimately still on the bottoms, on the maybe slightly below the RPE as prescribed, but moving forward and feeling good. So that's great. It was nice to be able to. I had a little bit less stressful week and was able to kind of just focus in on training a little bit more. So that was set 2, and this is set 4. Again, 390 for 4 sets of 5. I forgot to take a picture of the board on this day, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. But the 141 on the feet up touch and go, and this 390 here. So on to day 2. Day 1 was on Tuesday evening, and this is Wednesday evening. I bumped up 2.5 kilos here to 237.5 for the 5 sets of 4. And originally I was thinking, I should probably just keep the weight the same, but things felt pretty good in warm-ups, and I thought, 2.5 kilos won't be a big deal, and it wasn't. So 5 sets of 4, grip held up fine, hands feeling okay, and I got my accessory work in as well. So volume work in the books, all solid. Friday evening was my day 3. I was in the gym alone, so it was all self handoff there, which I don't really love for heavy weights, but that was 180 moving fast by myself. These sets of 3 weren't quite so clean. I went to 167.5. It seems like I'm letting the bar sink too much and lose position on these a little bit. So they were probably like on the maybe just slightly over the RPE. But I'm super thrilled about the 180. I think the velocity was 28.28 meters per second, so it's about as fast as I've ever moved that weight, and probably the most I've ever pressed with a self handoff. So then I went on to comp squat, and this is that tester weight of 215 that I've been taking velocity on to gauge my top set. I added in another single here in between, as you suggested, so this is 235. This wasn't as fast as I would like, but I think depth was pretty good on this single, as was on the 215. And then still not in love with the top single here. I went up 2.5 kilos from last week. I think this is about as fast as I've ever moved this weight, though, which is good. And it wasn't exceedingly high. I just don't think it was convincingly at depth. Interested to hear what you think about that. So I went up 2 kilos on these sets of 3, so 232 for sets of 3, and everything seemed to move pretty fine. I want to say that this is probably a PR for me. Multiple sets of 3 at over 230 kilos. It's probably a PR. That was set 1, and this is set 3. This angle that I chose for set 3 makes these look really high, and I don't think that's they're quite as high as they look, but camera was a little lower than it should have been, and it was behind. Just shows how different it can look when you get a different camera angle. All in all, day 3 was really solid. You see there 34 meters per second for the 247.5 and 28 for the 180, so that's pretty good performance. This morning, Saturday morning, was day 4. Went up to 170, just went up 1 kilo from last week for these 3 sets of 6 on Slingshot. I've had a little shoulder elbow pain the last couple of weeks after comp squats. Didn't feel it much last night, but I did feel it a little bit today benching. It's definitely better. I got some treatment last week and that helped, and I'll get some treatment again. Here's the top single on deadlift. I kept the same weight as last week, 277.5, and I think it was 1 or 2 100ths faster than last week. So that I think was a good outcome. I'm not quite sure what's in store for the next 2 weeks leading into the virtual meets. But this deadlift work all felt pretty good. I held the end of these 3 singles, or these 3 triples. Held the last rep for a little bit, and this is 255, which I think is probably a PR as well. So, yeah. And again, grip held up well, hands held up well. 277.5 at 23, which I think is 2 hundredths faster than last week. And then the 255 for the triples. And this was the pizza that I ate in one sitting last Monday. It was delicious. But I cleaned up my diet since.